Does everybody of the minutes that has 3 pages to each one?
Yes.
Took away the other.
Oh, well, I have a bunch of the old 2-shots, so let me make those. These are good, and these are all, those are two pages.
This is good or bad?
Those are bad. I think all of these are bad.
There's extras.
Oh, missing the second page. Okay, these are all bad.
Those are all bad?
Yeah.
Voting members 44.
Has everybody read the minutes? Do you want to take a minute or two to read through them and see if we can approve those? Because I assume that's the first part of our agenda.
You got your agenda, didn't you? My goodness.
No.
Hey,
Approval of minutes.
she has the extras. Why don't you give me the extra?
It wasn't sure when Jane's coming. I know she's coming. She said
And
she
you
would
set aside a packet for her.
come.
Thank you.
Well, the good news is we at least have the lease purchase option is in the minutes. Both before you came in and a way to, all of us are concerned about the change to leasing going to have on CIP as an issue for the town. And how we display that or talk about it or raise it as an issue, what people are interested in discussing at some point, whether
Okay,
not.
the best is when you go to the council and make your recommendations to the council, which you express to me and share it with them, because ultimately, for anything concerning the town council to approve any releases from the capital reserve fund, and they would need to for a lease purchase rather than a outright capital purchase.
Yeah, but beyond that, the concern is the reason we're going into leasing is because we have insufficient funds put away in the capital reserve, no surprise, because we've underfunded. So they may be able to have enough to cover 2 of 10 lease pay in CIP, but they're not recommending new money to be put in payments. Those I think are
Well,
zeros, Roger.
I'm still a little confused by this, because I've always, lease purchases, or whatever you want to call them,
Right.
leases, come out of your operating budget, being expense. And I was taken aback when I saw that there was a withdrawal from the CIP for that purpose.
Well,
I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I was just surprised, because in the face of what we do in the CIP process.
well, so you're not alone. And two, I think what the town is saying is we have enough money put aside, that it is, to withdraw the funds and use that first lease payment or two. But after that, no funds, so it's going to have to be put in the operating budget. If you think about the stress, the perfect world would be we have a $500,000 piece of equipment, we have $500,000 because it's there. We take that money, we buy the machine and the operating budget. Way two, we have $100,000 that we put aside 10 years for a $500,000 machine. Okay, we're going to lease it for 10 years, a year. So we have a change of policy. Number two, which ain't enough to buy the vehicle, so let's make a request to withdraw $50,000 this year for the lease payment. That also does not affect operations budget because you don't need it. You just found the money for the first year in CIP. Years. But then the third year comes around and you've drained CIP. You have to add that to the operating budget that's there, okay, for the next 8 years. So technically you can sit back and say the first year or two, the operating budget is understated, the money from the lease payments from CIP. We're not putting new money into CIP, okay? So 2 years from now, the operating budget is going to balloon. You're going to have to say, oops, sorry, we're going to renege on the lease.
Okay, I think that,
Because we,
did you say he had talked to the legal counsel? Not the town council, the town's attorney? Still don't think that leases are supposed to be coming out of the capital reserve fund.
well, what they're doing is they're saying, I have money set aside to buy it. We're not going to buy it any longer. We're going to lease it. It's going to sit there forever because we're not going to fund it. So why don't we withdraw, and whether that's legal or not, I don't know, but what they're requesting is to withdraw the money from the capital fund to pay a lease payment.
It seems to me,
Does everybody agree or just, okay?
but it seems to me that this is a capital plan for the town. It's not the accounting plan for the town. So how it gets funded is
It's up to the department heads.
up to the department heads.
Right.
If it gets funded by a grant, if it gets funded by
Impact fees?
payments out of to fund the lease, if it gets paid out of money that's in a reserve fund, that's irrelevant to the fact that this is a capital plan. The capital plan, if they decide to do lease payments, lease a fire engine, I don't want to see it disappear from the capital plan of the town because we decided to lease it. It seems to me this is a capital plan. How you fund it is
Okay, but
up
it's
to the
not-
part, and we just want to highlight how it's going to be funded. In
Right,
the
that's
same way
that's
that we
Roger, I'm not
highlighted,
disagreeing. This is a policy question that should be raised at the administrative level with the town manager and the finance director, with feedback as appropriate from the town council. I don't think it's the purview of this committee to, spend a lot of time on that. I mean, our job is to identify the projects that are capital and that should be funded in the next 6 years. And again, our role is advisory. These decisions are management decisions, and I don't really feel that, I mean, I think your idea makes sense. I can see what the impact is, but I just don't think it's in our domain to be questioning that. It's my opinion.
A question to everybody here. We need town's deadline, etc. We can either say we're not going to finish the capital plan, or we'll go through the process that we've done before, but we have an issue here. Are you guys, putting aside everything else, and I agree with Diane and I agree with Roger, we have an issue, I mean, all of us. And that probably has to be discussed with Steve and the financial guy of saying, educate us on, is this perfectly legal? What's going to happen in 2 or 3 years? We're concerned citizens on the panel, and we got some questions. And I would rather have that happen before, okay, raising the question, Diane, before I end up sitting in front of the town council like I have the last 2 years saying, let me raise an issue that's going to blow up the town council meeting at the moment, and we don't have an answer for it. So my question to you guys is, if we ask the question and say, can we have a separate meeting with the committee and, Steve or the finance director in the next week, 2, 3 weeks, whenever that is, and say, here's a concern, walk us through it, because we're concerned you're not going to be, we don't think CIP should be funded with lease payments? True?
Part of the problem is you don't know
No,
what payments are gonna be.
CIP
Yeah,
should
yeah.
reflect capital acquisitions for the town, independent of how they're funded.
Fine, so
Because
that's,
we already say, look at the.
okay,
these-
so
no,
you're saying it should be listed then?
Yes,
Okay.
look at the example of the splash pad. That was funded through grants, through other sources. There were multiple sources of funding. How it got funded doesn't, but it got recorded that there were gonna be grants, that there was gonna be outside money.
But it was
and there was
purchased.
gonna be reserved.
But it
And
was
a
purchased.
purchase.
Right.
Okay, so, but to me, just if they say, we're going to lease purchase a $500,000 fire engine,
Right.
and now we take it out of CIP because it's a lease purchase, I fail to see how it's a capital plan for the town. Because we took out a big chunk.
But isn't that the purview of the council and the administration to make those financial management decisions?
So,
That's why they have to approve it before they can release the money. To make sure all the money's there, that it's documented, that it follows, proper accounting principles,
Yeah, well,
what the council does.
you also have an issue that was raised, and you guys please chime in. I don't want to be sitting here talking to myself. That the police department, instead of putting their normal list of assets on the police cars down, etc., made a decision last year that since they buy a car basically every year, okay, that they'll put in their operating budget the $50,000 that says, instead of putting away money for 7 vehicles each year, I'm going to buy one every year and just put it in my capital budget. Now, in Roger's instance, saying, well, then you're going to be losing 7 vehicles from your capital plan, and saying the police department has 7 vehicles, and we would normally classify that as a capital asset with a useful life over 5 years, and yada, 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 yada. They're going to disappear. The fire trucks would disappear. Okay?
I guess I have a couple thoughts. We have a deadline of 2 days, and we need to get this stuff done. It needs to be done tonight. But we also have an issue that's important and I think should be discussed. I'm wondering if the committee is allowed to have an extra meeting past that deadline as a wrap-up. Time we could discuss how to handle this, maybe submit a letter to the town council saying our concerns, but just ensuring that we get this done tonight.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but, and let's just see if we can kick it to that one. I would prefer us, since last year's letter wasn't answered, okay, that we make a request to have a meeting with Steve and the financial controller, okay, at some date in the short time to discuss this issue more thoroughly. Perhaps there's information we don't have, or there's regulations in the law that allow this to be done, or there's a history of other towns doing this in a way that we can't understand right now.
The only caveat I'd say is we need to be careful because it's a slippery slope, and we don't want to start treading into having more meetings that go beyond the scope of our committee.
Well, I understand.
But I think it's a good idea. On a limited basis, sure.
Is that a way to have us move on, but it request through Diane that we have another meeting set up, Roger?
Yeah, I think I just saw the simple solution to this. When you look at the form as it exists today, the first funds, the first thing that's listed on the project funds are capped in general fund.
Right, it's
So
right there. You can
if we
put it
just
under
said,
other,
if you're gonna lease, put the number under general funds.
or under other as a lease payment,
Or,
if that's
yeah,
what you
either
want
one.
to see.
But, you know, and if you're gonna put money into, use reserve funding, you put it under reserve.
And that could be an
So
excellent,
that's just a process change for filling out the form to say, to highlight the fact that you're gonna use general funds to buy that fire engine.
Or to lease it.
is it rational?
To lease it. You're gonna use general funds to pay the lease.
Okay, and again, that has to be vetted through legal.
Or
We
you're
can
gonna,
even
or
do that.
for
I
the
don't know.
police car, you're gonna use general funds to buy that car
Yeah,
every year.
I'm disagreeing with nothing you say, other than the fact that I don't think the forms can be changed and we can identify the lease
I'm not
projects in 2
saying
days.
changing.
Okay.
The form stays the same, the way the data is entered for next year.
For those assets we think are being leased,
Right.
okay?
Well, no, for those assets, the department head who fills this out thinks it's going to be leased.
Right.
And that's going forward unless we
Go-
send the forms back in the next day or two.
Oh, no. For next year, I said, for
Gotcha.
next
Okay.
year, next CIP
Right.
cycle, not for current.
Perfect. And do you agree we should ask for a meeting and we're all willing to sit and discuss this with the town manager and the finance director saying, educate us, because we got questions on what the long-term implication of that is for both CIP and the operating budget?
I mean, I'm sure if we're doing this, it's because other towns do it, and I'm sure it's because Steve thinks it's a good idea. So, I mean, I don't know that it's gonna change anything about the way we're doing it, because, I mean, I think that's a good idea going forward. And obviously, there's gonna be this weird transition, and this is the transition where we go from buying to leasing, but, I mean, I'm just not sure that there's, you know, it's maybe overcomplicating it. I mean, I just think maybe an email, you could probably email us and answer these questions. I mean, I'm happy to have another meeting, but I don't know that, there's gonna be a great, like, a bunch of information that we don't have. And, yeah, but I'm sure Steve would be happy to answer any questions
Yeah.
about it.
I'd be in favor of sitting down with them, just, if only for my own, education. I think, like you said, there may be things that we don't know, and this seems to be weedy. Sit down with somebody that can actually explain it, may have some value.
And it may be questions that's never been asked, so it doesn't hurt, right?
Look, all of us have our own experiences. I think the way I described what could happen, I didn't see anybody shaking their head saying, no, that's not gonna happen. That you withdraw funds for 2 years, you have no more funds. They didn't show in the operating budget, and 2 years from now, there may be all those things coming into is somebody looking at me like I'm crazy?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So there's a little time bomb potentially floating around, and if it's only gonna be used on certain assets in public works or in this, it's still being used that way. And as a taxpayer, I'm kind of interested in how that's gonna round out, and in 2 years, are we gonna have a bubble that comes in because leasing's become a popular sport? This form shrinks, as Roger's saying, because they're not asking for capital, and the operating budget expands.
I mean, to be honest with you, I wasn't very clear, entirely clear on how the leasing was even gonna work, because it seemed like we had lease payments up to a certain year, and it was like,
Well,
it
each year,
didn't seem to was in the reserve fund, so I wasn't exactly, it wasn't clear to me.
Yeah, well, the simple issue is we have insufficient reserve funds to pay for the assets.
I think it was the same, it was all like 20,000 or whatever.
Okay, I was told by, maybe it was the finance director, that they can't really project what the lease payment will be in 5 years, because it's not a stationary
It's
type
not the
thing.
same.
It changes,
It's
that's what I
rate.
thought. And again, I'm not an
When you enter,
accountant, so.
when you enter a lease, there's not a variable payment lease. There's a,
Okay,
you enter a contract for X period of time. These are all dollar
So-
purchase option or ownership transfer leases.
I could see at the end of the lease, there might be, depending on mileage, et cetera, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that would be shocking to hear.
well, I don't know anything about leases, so I'm just, but that's what I was led to believe, that
Well-
they can't
It's totally possible
determine
that
from year to
leasing
year what it's
fire
gonna be.
trucks is completely different than any other
Sure.
type of leasing.
It
It's that
totally is.
happens a lot with the municipal government, that we're in these weird,
It's true.
you know.
And it could be, and that's my question, okay?
Yeah.
Because if it's a dollar purchase option lease, all that is, it's just taking advantage of accounting laws to shift the money from one place to another, okay? If you think about borrowing money, okay, for 5 years and paying it back, and at the end you own the asset, that's effectively a lease. You're going into a lease where ownership transfers at the end of 5 years. You've agreed to make these, 10 lease payments of
But every
twice a
lease
year.
is different.
It's different only in how you account for it. It's not different in the fact that when you purchase something, you're putting the cash up front, or you're borrowing money from a bank to pay for it, so it's your asset, or you're entering a contract for the next 5 years to spread those payments over 5 years. Sounds like a loan,
Well,
but
it
it's
does,
not. It's
but-
called the lease.
But you can do a 10-year lease, you can do a 20-year lease.
Absolutely.
So it's invariable, I mean, and it changes from time to time.
Uh,
I mean, from, when the lease is up, then it changes and you have a new formula, and I assume you negotiate.
No,
at
when
that
the
point.
lease is up, you should own the asset, because
Right, okay.
the asset transfers. So all I'm saying is, unless somebody's created an exotic hybrid, there shouldn't be a variable price lease, okay? It should be a constant for that period of time that you're signing the contract. Look, I think that,
Not yet.
Get on with what we need to do today.
yeah,
Just or forced to lease or something, you know?
I don't-
I mean, maybe.
yeah, well, it could be, but
I
Leasing is a
did
wonderful-
ask the question of the finance director, well, do we know what the lease payment's gonna be next year? And he said no, because it's gonna vary from year to year, but maybe he was saying that in a different context.
if this doesn't confuse you more, I'll give you a giggle, okay? People will look at a lease payment and say, I'm paying $50,000 a year for 10 years, okay? The guy who's lending it to you, or making the lease and owning the asset initially, is saying, I picked it up for $200,000 and I'm charging you $500,000 over 5 years, okay? The municipality may say, my lending rate is 10%, so I'm gonna discount that $500,000 by 10% a year, and I'm getting a great deal. It's costing me only $150,000, where it really, everybody has a different opinion, because nobody, and nowhere in a lease document is somebody telling you exactly how they calculate the lease payment. Trust me on that. That would be a very unusual lease document, where somebody's saying, here's the interest rate, here's the cost of the equipment, and everybody has the same facts. That's the magic of a lease. Okay? And again, I could be wrong. I mean, I've been out of the business for a few years. Okay.
Just one thing, whenever frequently you try to compare personal finances with municipal finances, it just doesn't work, because the math is totally different, and the rules are different, and the way the loans are stretched out, and what makes sense for yourself in the town. It's like, I've seen people try to do it, they say, why are we getting this loan? And it's like completely different sort of set of math. And the rules are different, the way you get the money is different, the rates are different. So, I mean, for that reason alone, it's probably worth having them come down
Yeah,
here, so that
and
we can not.
I think we
Have
agree on that,
questions.
and let me
Yeah.
not spend any more time. But debits are still by the window and credits are still by the door, and they should equal zero when they're processed
Right,
together.
yeah.
So, regardless of municipal. But I've heard the same thing you've heard.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How do we Can we do the minutes? And let's get that one out of the way and
Make
then
a
we can.
motion, we approve the August 30th, September 1st, and September 8th minutes.
Any discussion or corrections? Not seeing anyone with a comment on the minutes. Can we vote on accepting the minutes of September 1st and September 8th? And August 30th? We didn't get to that one the first time, right? Okay. All in favor?
I
Aye.
was second. Okay.
Okay.
That was unanimous.
It seemed to be. No nays and no abstentions? Okay. All 3 minutes are approved. Thank you, Recording Secretary, as always, outstanding, and her aide-de-camp, who reads it, I'm sure. Before we get it.
Keep each
Okay.
other on the same.
What do we got next? CIP's committee evaluation recommendations. We're all agreeing we'd like to have another meeting, and we'd like it to be with the finance director and possibly the town council, the town manager,
We do actually have a meeting on the agenda for,
to discuss leasing
well,
and
not
its.
specifically discuss that, but,
We don't have a meeting.
oh, we
We-
don't. Oh, it's
we-
just you, this is this.
Yeah, we
Representative.
said 4 meetings, and then if we needed
I
additional
just saw
meetings, we'd have to
agenda
schedule
item
it.
3, CIP meeting with town council.
Oh, that's coming later. That's in October.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I was suggesting, can I wait till we talk then? But apparently you want us to get the information out there beforehand.
One, the October thing is you and I to show up to go over this and answer any questions the town council has. It's not
Right.
the whole committee, and I think the whole committee's sort of interested in this. Two, if this is gonna be a sticky wicket or not, I would rather raise a sticky wicket not in public for the first time at a meeting, okay? Be able to get educated before that fact, or get worried that I'm not educated, and then at least I fired a shot over the bow.
It's
Is it-
also likely there'll be more leasing and not less in the
Well,
future,
yeah.
so it's probably better to get answers to the questions now.
Is that acceptable to you guys, to try to schedule another meeting and to, at least with the finance director? And hopefully the town manager? And just we're confused about the long-term implication of leasing on CIP and the operating
Can we
budget.
set a date certain right now so that we can simplify this process?
I would look at it as the availability of the town manager and the finance director, and then we'll work around that rather than, I mean, we can give you a date.
Let's go for a date.
Okay.
That everybody here is available, so I can, maybe
So on
alternative
Mondays,
dates.
Yeah, Mondays, good for people.
I have zoning board meetings on Mondays.
Monday's not good?
Roger has
It's fine
budget
with me, I
committee.
can work around it.
Okay.
Tuesday is.
Tuesday, we have planning board.
Yeah.
We
Monday?
have a planning board meeting tomorrow night, so the following Tuesday might be a good time. Is this time slot good? I mean, I need some guidance as to how you want to schedule it.
Works for me.
Works for me.
So 4 to 6.
Thursdays don't work for anybody?
On Tuesdays?
Right now, we're pushing for the Tuesday to see if that doesn't work for anybody.
Tuesday, which,
Next Tuesday, I believe is what
Next
you're saying,
Tuesday?
right, Diane?
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't we say between the 4 to 6 timeframe? That seems to work for everybody.
And that's, you said 9:20, what was the date?
I probably will not make it.
Okay. Next Tuesday is the 24th. Is that right? No, the 21st. I wrote that down, I don't know why I am.
I'll arrange my schedule.
Thank you.
Roger, I hate to leave you out of it, I just don't know we're gonna go
No,
into,
but
the-
I-
but maybe we can work on making sure your questions are crafted in the way you want them, so we get an answer.
as long as
Is
there's
that-
transparency, that's all I'm looking for.
Gotcha. Okay, we're gonna request that, and if not, we'll get a alternate meeting, whatever, from.
Yep.
And that's the finance director and town manager. That's Steve's title these days, isn't it?
Steve is the town manager.
Rather than the town administrator.
Yep.
Okay, super. Committee's evaluation and recommendations.
And here is your worksheet. So the very last page is the overview, and the yellow column is where the committee puts its recommendations based on the information we have. And what we have available in the CIP is in the first, the capital reserve fund is in the first column, the budget requests that have been approved over the last 4 years, the department head's request, the CIP's committee, and then what these costs would be projected out for the next 5 years, beyond 2023, sorry.
And just to, go ahead, Roger.
I suggest we start on the 2 single pages.
Right, that's the detail,
that
the 2 single
allow us
pages.
To, because
Right.
that's where I think our recommendations, and then we.
That's right.
The others, the summary, right?
Right, we take it and then we bring it into that other spreadsheet. You're right, Roger.
And before I go further, if anybody has it, right now, we've talked about Public Works having, the least impact is happening in Public Works. It's happening, you said, in Fire and Rescue with vehicles.
Yes.
And we're not aware of anything else other than the police department, who's not really using CIP to buy the vehicles anymore, or all of them.
Well,
Last year they did not, but this year they are.
Okay,
but they are showing numbers for 23, 24 and beyond under police vehicles.
No, they're not.
A half a vehicle,
No, they're not.
I'm sorry.
Police vehicles,
PD 2.
oh, it's
Police
backwards,
vehicle.
sorry. Forgive me, those
makes-
2 are
yeah.
reversed, thank you,
That would make more
Roger.
sense.
okay, so
Okay.
police vehicle,
Police vehicle is only the first,
Okay, what, the 23, 266?
no, it's
So-
the 53,471.
Okay, what about the 23?
That goes up in the column above it,
Oh,
the row above it.
So if you
Sorry.
just flip-flop police vehicles and dispatch equipment. Yeah.
Sorry about
okay,
that.
that's communications equipment. Okay,
so that's, the whole line gets moved up and just the 25,466 comes down to police vehicle?
No, the 53,471 is the police vehicle request for 22, 23 only
For funding,
for funding, and it's
And
zero,
then
they didn't
zero's
include
beyond
anything
that.
for the
okay,
going forward.
all right.
I got you, okay. And then those other 5 numbers move up. Gotcha, okay. Any other places at the moment? I haven't heard anything. Water and sewer's not part, it's part of the capital plan, but it's not part of the tax rate or anything. I didn't hear Sean doing that at the moment.
No, he's not doing anything.
Okay. So those 3 areas. Okay, super. Thank you. Any comments on Public Works?
We're gonna do it by, we have to have a second discussion and a vote on each one of these, starting with Public Works, PW1, PW2, PW3. We keep hitting them all the way down.
And make a motion, we approve Public Works vehicle PW1 as necessary. Do we need
Okay.
to do that?
Yeah, let me just say, I didn't fill in what this committee said. These were the comments from last year. So if you want to change it from last year, just cross out the N and the U that's here and pencil it in on your copy, so you'll know what the,
What's our
We
third?
voted,
Priority ranking is from last year.
yes.
What's on this worksheet is what's from last
I'd
year.
I'd like to amend the motion to change the priority to you. Since the substantial portion of that is lease payment.
You being urgent?
Yeah,
You want to change it because they're going to be doing leasing? Did I understand that correctly? Because it's leasing. Is that right? You want to change it to you because they want to do leasing?
yes.
Okay.
That incorporates leasing, yes.
Okay, thanks, Roger.
Is there a second?
I'll second the amendment.
Oh, okay,
Well,
well,
no one seconded my motion first, so.
no, so,
You need someone to
Prior
second.
to your,
Second
prior to
motion.
your amendment,
I-
and then I'll second your
You
amendment.
accept the amendment?
okay, so
Okay.
Roger seconds, and then amends.
Totally lost control of this, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
Okay,
Roger seconds, and then Roger amends, and then Gary seconds.
Correct.
And now we're ready for discussion?
yeah.
Well, well,
No,
To discussion
on the dollar
on
amount.
the dollar amount and the
Well,
fact that we've moved it
technically,
to
it would
a
be
U.
Technically, we do need to vote on the amendment,
Yeah.
and we should discuss it. Mr. Chairman, will you please take control of this meeting?
Yes, could we please have a vote, thank you, on changing the N to a U?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. I'll assume there's no abstentions. I know I need to ask for that as well. Okay. Part two is the numbers.
The dollar amount for this next fiscal year.
Okay, so we're not voting on the string, we're just voting on the dollar amount for next fiscal year.
Well, do we normally put them separately or together?
We normally, our record normally is the dollar amount for this fiscal year because it's going to the town council and the budget committee for this year's budget for consideration.
No, but do we normally vote on them separately or together?
You mean vote on we just
The
vote on the
string or
one
just on
number
the
for
one
next
number?
year, because that's all that's
Well, we
being.
have a motion on the table for the
Urgency?
urgency already,
Okay,
with the amendment's been approved. Do we have to
no.
motion and approve the amount?
No, the motion would be, I mean, the motion on the table, I believe, is to approve the number with a U.
Correct. That's right.
But my motion didn't include the number, I guess that's my point.
You don't need, it doesn't matter if you include it in
Oh,
the
okay,
motion.
okay.
Just-
It
If you
could be
want to do
separate.
those separate, I thought you were talking about the string of
No, sorry, no.
figures.
do we want to proceed with having one, let's make it clear so we don't get bollocksed up the other 20 times. Do we want to discuss both the rating and the one-year number together?
Yes,
I think
Okay.
so.
In prior years, is
Okay.
that what you've done?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't
Okay,
recall.
sounds
yeah.
good.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So I can make
So
a
make a
motion to
second
amend
motion.
Yeah.
amend my motion
if you want to
to
make,
include funding for $119,076.
Okay.
okay, and second? Roger seconds. If there's no further discussion, let me call for a vote. All those in favor of U and 119,076 in the 22-23 year?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous?
Road improvements.
I move we agree to the numbers and rating as shown on the sheet.
Second.
I thought we were going to do the dollar amount at the same time.
250.
Oh, he said the number is shown.
Shown on the sheet, 250,000.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Any discussion? All those in favor of N and 250,000 in the first year?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays and abstentions? Unanimous.
I move we approve the U/C rating and the 50,000 for stormwater management.
Second.
Discussion?
I just had a question about the use/C.
C, critical?
No, it's
Compulsory.
Compulsory.
By law,
Ah,
And what is it, what's compulsory?
'cause
It's
we're,
required by federal law.
federal and state law on stormwater management is,
Cut you off. We are participating in the MS4 program, which is an EPA program. Now that we've got our clean water under control with respect to wastewater treatment plants, now we're tackling non-point source pollution. And we're in year 4 now, as we speak, of our program. We have a 6-year permit with EPA. And this is, so we're moving forward with some projects to address that.
and I'm looking, I was just looking where we have the legend on what the codes were.
it's in the
Up
top
in the
right,
upper right
first
hand
page.
corner.
And I
Okay,
did
I
take out the
gotcha.
definitions because
You
I
see
couldn't
it.
fit in on the
Yeah, no,
spreadsheet.
it's up on the upper right, so,
I'll be honest with you.
you see it. Okay. So, so stormwater management, a rating of U, urgent and compulsory, both. Do I have a motion?
You have
So
a,
on the table.
We got
you
second?
have a motion and a second.
Good.
The
Any
discussion was my question. Yeah. Vote.
Any discussion? Okay, no?
Now we're ready to vote.
Okay, we're ready to vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any, no abstentions? Noted, okay.
I make a motion we approve F1 Beach Street Extension Wellness Center as a desirable for $50,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Roger? Aye? Are you an aye or a nay? Okay. Passed unanimously.
I make a motion we approve F2 Community Center Portable Bleachers as compulsory for $10,670.
Second.
Let me, it's seconded. Is there any discussion? I'm gonna discuss the list. Is,
This one wasn't, yeah, it wasn't brought up, but I believe it's a ADA compliance, I think. If I recall from last year, there's a reason why it was compulsory. So I would have to
Well,
look.
we also last year were in the pandemic and it was thought that we wouldn't be having people sitting in bleachers given
Well, no,
the
there wouldn't
status of
be-
the pandemic.
We wouldn't mark this compulsory if it was, I assume wasn't asked.
Well, it has to be done.
Yeah, it has to be done, yeah. Here it is, portable bleachers, compulsory.
so are you saying you wanna leave it compulsory or make it a urgent and compulsory?
It seems like a distinction without a difference in some ways in that particular case, but I can accept an amendment.
No, I'm just, I'm fine with compulsory, but if you were saying I think it should be UC like the other one, I'm more than willing.
No,
Okay. Do we need to vote? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Where is this, reflected on the overview thing?
It would be under recreation. And they have 3 projects this year, and the total is $77,355.
Actually, so isn't it reflected under facilities?
I think you're right.
Oh, you're right, okay, it is one of the facility projects.
One of the facility.
Sorry about
projects
that.
Is the rec project. And so it's the buildings and grounds one?
Yes,
Yeah. There's the public works group that's under facilities, it's also 345. Is that different than this one?
Yeah,
yeah. There's a whole list of facility projects on the first page.
Yeah,
There's
this is a
20.
cumulative amount, yeah.
There are 18 facility projects, and then there's 3 library projects.
right, but I think the question was if all the facilities projects total up to be
Yeah, and that
743.
figure is wrong. I changed it, I thought, okay. in the spreadsheet.
Okay, so in the summary spreadsheet,
It should
say
be,
743, 633.
that's right.
Okay.
Thank you for picking that up.
all the facilities, yeah.
$345,000. Sorry about that.
743.
Okay, so we're back on,
Right, we're not
F3.
splitting the projects by area, we're putting all the facilities as one number
Together.
down, other than the library.
so here's the surveillance system, F3.
Make a motion, we approve the community center surveillance systems F3 as necessary for $12,450.
I'll second, just to change the pace. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We can speed this up potentially. Is there anybody who has an issue with the other set of facility projects? Okay, super. Then let's do them one by one. Or you want to take care of that one first?
Well, I have some ranking
Okay,
changes.
shoot, go ahead. We'll do it one by one then, that's fine. Community center doorway key replacement. Necessary and 14,600 as a motion.
Second.
Second, we got, any discussion?
Just for clarification, this is the community center, not the rec center. Key, right?
It's the recreation center.
It
is
is
The
the
community center
community
is
center.
the rec center.
They're one and the
Okay,
same.
all right. Because it seemed a bit excessive for key replacements, but I understand it's the rec center.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? So moved. Community center, okay, community center athletic field improvements.
Make a motion, we approve F5 as desirable. I'm actually gonna move that as necessary. I'm gonna make a motion, we approve community center athletic field improvements as necessary.
In the dollar amount stated.
I'm sorry, you're correct, $38,200.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
The reason I decided
Discussion,
to make it
okay.
necessary is just because I believe the infields, the both baseball infields have been an issue for quite a number of years. There's some safety concerns with the Newmarket Youth Athletic Association has with those, I believe, as well as the turf field has significant drainage issues, so. I don't recall if those are included in that, because we kind of skimmed over some of these facility items, but,
Okay,
that's my rationale.
any other discussion? Okay, let me call for a vote on the change to an N from a U and funded at 38.2.
From a
And
D.
from
A
a
U to an N, excuse me, my apologies.
D to an N.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
My eyes are going. The ayes have it, and mine have had it. Any opposed? Okay.
F6,
No,
I-
yeah.
I, I,
She decided she didn't wanna ask for that this year, right? Amy?
No, that wasn't my understanding.
Yeah, it was a little unclear, but I think she did want to ask for it. But
Yeah.
she talked about doing a concrete bowl, I think it said.
But it wasn't planned for 22, 23.
oh no, the money putting away though.
Oh,
She's
putting
putting
away.
it away.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think she said she might change the design, but it would be,
Okay.
assuming we're not fully funding it this year.
F6, I move we approve as a D for desirable and the 15,000.
Second.
I'm a little concerned with that change, only because it is, having seen it, it is quite a safety issue, I believe.
The police
But
have also,
I get your point, though.
sorry to interrupt you.
No,
The police have also been having a lot more complaints of people skateboarding downtown since the pandemic started. So they actually, the chief expressed to me that they were very much looking forward to the skate park getting redone to sort of pull a lot of those kids off Main Street. Because I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but it's like tenfold increase the number of kids skateboarding down the sidewalks particularly. So there was a thought that if that was done faster, that it would sort of pull the kids out of downtown. So I don't know, maybe a C and not a U, but
Well, it couldn't be compulsory, I don't
Yeah, because that would be.
oh, sorry, yeah, but
It'd be
I
compulsory,
mean,
and I agree on the conditions.
I understand it's maybe not urgent,
On the
but
ba-
You mean
basis
necessary
of-
instead?
of-
yeah, sorry, yeah, maybe it's
Maybe it's,
On the basis of what you said, I'd like to change my motion to an N.
Yeah, I mean, from a personal comment, whether it be urgent or not, it's certainly necessary. It's an existing facility that is getting riskier.
Do we know if there has been any historic, I won't say evidence, but correlation between the quality of the skate ramp and the usage downtown? I'm just wondering, I know that's the
I
the
mean,
hope, but I'm just wondering if it'll actually.
I have talked to a lot of, I mean, like Amy was saying this, that if the skate park's nice, people will be there and it'll get better taken care of, which is definitely true. And like, at one point there was a skate shop across the street, and the skate park was a little bit better condition there, and they had kids coming from out of town to use the skate park. I mean, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago, so it's taken quite a beating since then. But I mean, at this point, it's like borderline.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unsafe and borderline unusable. But I mean, I could only imagine if, especially if like it was a bowl and was like
Oh, yeah.
fresh and
that
new.
is-
I mean, I don't know how long. You know, you'd probably have 3 or 4 years. I imagine where it's fresh and new and people are
Yeah.
going there more. But
So we have a.
We have a
amendment.
motion.
We have a motion, and then we have a proposed amendment.
I think you,
Motion made and seconded.
That to change it to an N, but leave it funded at
Oh, I'm sorry.
15,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll second that.
okay.
Okay.
So Roger changes his original motion from a D to an N, same amount of money, seconded by Gary.
Yeah, you said it, but
Okay.
And
seconded by someone.
Yep, all those in favor of a N rather than a U at 15,000 as motioned?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. I'm not gonna say the other two, says, hold on, I hadn't voted, but I thought I heard everybody, okay.
F7, I move we approve as a D and the money as stated. And the reason for this is that the police chief was clearly thinking that he wants to rethink what he does. And so this is kind of a placeholder for something that we don't know what it is yet.
Second.
All those in favor of changing police department booking area improvements to necessary from urgent and
D.
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 Desirable.
Oh, D?
Desirable.
Okay, sorry, okay. Guys, I'm losing it, obviously, I will try to pick up the pace. Change it to D at 19,653,
Aye.
motion carries.
Make a motion, we approve F8 Town Hall brick and stone repointing and repairs as urgent for $63,900. I seemed like the town manager indicated that these were going to be happening. It wasn't
Well,
entirely.
Intended that they would happen the next year after Greg left, and they've been postponed for a couple of years. What did I put down?
Well, there's no future
It says-
funding on it as
Yeah,
well.
and I basically, in looking at this, I mean, at the end of the third year, if it's saved at that level, there'll be enough funding to do it in 23, 24. So that's what that,
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? We have it as keeping the U and the 63,900. No more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Town electrical improvements.
Make a motion, we approve F9 town electrical improvements as urgent, $57,760.
Second? Any discussion?
I hope they do it soon.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
When I'm out of the building.
Before we lose contact down fire
Town Hall Fire Department detection replacement. Do I have a motion?
Well, there's no,
There's no funding for this year.
Okay, any, and necessary, no one has an issue with? Accept it. Do we need to motion, Susan? Just to say we have a record of touching it,
Yeah,
even though it's got a zero?
yeah, so make
Okay.
a motion to keep.
Just for
it.
Keep it in,
consistency.
Yeah.
I move we approve
Second.
F10 and F11 as stated.
second.
Seconded. Any
So-
discussion on F10 and F11? Thank you for moving it a little more quickly, Roger.
Can someone remind me why these are both on here and also no funds attached?
The facility manager at the time, Greg Miles, felt that it wasn't as urgent as some of the other projects, because he was trying to do a lot of projects townwide. So
I
he had
think
to
it was
set
the
some
comparative
priorities.
of the two U's above it, saying that's where the focus should be first, and we can live with without the other two, rather than getting them all done at once. I think that's exactly right,
Right.
Diane is. Sorry, many of you weren't here with Greg Marles, but it was nice to, after 5 years of requesting that the town look at facilities, and to do that, and to at least have the one shot that Greg did, gave us a good roadmap. So I appreciate it. Okay, F12.
Nope,
We-
all those in favor?
Motion on the
Oh,
table.
all those in favor of F10 and 11 as recommended?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we accept F12 town hall networking and cabling repairs and replacement as desirable, $15,300.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is an item that has not changed since the last 2 or 3 years, ever
Right.
since Greg wrote this up. But I do know that there have been significant changes to the network cabling and the networking in the town hall. And a lot of it is funded by COVID monies. So I'm wondering whether this item needs to be on there at all.
I think unfortunately it's too late to ask that question, because I don't know if we could get an answer, we can certainly change our recommendation.
You know, I don't have an answer for it. I apologize for not bringing that up with
No,
Steve. and
at the
his-
time of the discussion, but.
was it town, not school?
Hmm?
What, do you know if it was town
This
or
was,
school wiring?
this was for town hall.
This is
Town
town.
network
This is
cable.
town
That,
hall.
that was done, was town hall.
So, yes, there has been a bunch of things done within the town hall, and, you know, I'm aware of that from budget committee.
Oh.
At this point, I would say we either approve it as is, but with the question as to whether this is funded, okay, through COVID. I hate to take it off
Yeah,
without knowing the answer.
I was just waiting to raise the question. I don't know what to do.
Can we note in the minutes, we just have a question to, and I don't know if that affects anything else, the windfall, or whatever you want to call it, money's coming from the government. Is that the only one you're aware of, Roger? is the cabling side?
Yeah, that's,
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept desirable and 15,003 for,
you
Okay,
have.
okay.
I have a second.
We've had
and
discussion.
we've had a
Okay.
discussion and we're ready to vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I move we approve F13, F14, and F15 as stated on the sheet. I'll try to move this along faster for you.
I appreciate it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of as written, F13, 14, and 15?
Aye.
Approved?
Make a motion, we accept F16 Town Hall Roof Recertification Program as necessary for $26,000.
Second?
I'd like to amend that to, or change it to a U.
Second.
And the reason being that if we don't have the town hall roof recertified, then it goes out of warranty. And that with the roof. I've dealt with that on other flat roofs, and you don't want to do that. So we gotta have it recertified for our own protection. So I think it ought to be you.
Okay, we did not have a second on Gary's end, so.
I thought Gary seconded I
Right,
thought he
Gary seconded.
seconded Roger's change.
Didn't you
Did,
second?
Did you second
Did you
Roger's
say?
change?
I seconded the change. Didn't you second my initial?
I thought I did.
Oh, okay, John.
Okay.
Didn't hear it. Okay. So now we got the friendly amendment and we're ready to discuss
Yeah.
or vote.
Well, F16, I would like to be able to have in the minutes about the question is that, Roger's question about if it's, we're changing it to, I'd like it to say we're changing it to urgent based on, not doing it will void the warranty. And to get that question answered in a follow-up basis by the town.
All right.
But at least it documents why we're changing it. All those in favor of the change to, I think we voted on it, but I added something, so I don't know if we have to.
I don't think we voted on the amendment yet.
Okay. All those in favor of recertification U with 26,000,
Aye.
right?
Make a motion, we approve, F17 Fire Department's second floor renovations, as a desirable.
We were on the second floor renovation. Okay, yes.
I
Not the
second
roof.
Okay, discussion on change from necessary to desirable.
The rationale is that when we had a tour, and maybe something changed and I just didn't catch it, but we had a tour and it's basically to create, I think like a workout area, a sleeping area for firefighters on call. And I'm just wondering if that, I mean, given the other expenses,
Yeah. The
I
theory,
think they're
the,
dealing with it is not ideal, but
without the tours, basically this was saying, well, because we didn't get a chance to necessarily discuss, I'm just giving you the prior discussion so you could, it's a volunteer force, we have trouble keeping fire people by redoing the second floor with more, would improve the retention rate of the fire and the attractiveness of being a volunteer fire person. And so I would agree, compared to others, it's always been, yeah, if we ever get the money, that would be nice. I'd rather have the roof on the place, which I think is the next one.
Right. And that's been on the list for now.
So all those in favor of the change to desirable, if we haven't voted on it, at
Who
48.7?
seconded? Who seconded
I will second.
Thank you.
And the change to desirable. Any discussion? More discussion? Okay. All those in favor of desirable at 48.7?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Public Works roof.
I move approval of this as stated.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
What do we have? Yeah. So which one?
Hammond
Which
Library.
ADA?
This
was
is the
Yeah.
library enhancement project,
The pocket
But
park.
is this
the
the
pocket park.
Pocket park.
pocket park and pedestrian improvements
Yeah.
Well,
from the parking area?
And it's,
and were we gonna change the numbers here too? And rather than having all the zeros? Or 9,000 is all the funding they need?
she never got back to us with a revised form
Okay.
today.
In general, discussing these, I'm not sure, this always gets into, yes, it's ADA required, but we can still keep it open if we're not doing it. So
Because they meet certification.
does,
They meet certification now, so
yeah,
okay, does this get a compulsory with it is my question.
I don't believe it does,
Okay,
from what we're told.
not from what was said.
okay.
So for discussion, I make a motion, we approve F-19, Newmarket Library pedestrian improvements is desirable for $9,900.
Second,
Second.
any discussion?
So was this the one, I know I just asked this, but
This was the second entrance.
No,
No,
no, this is the first entrance
this is the first.
Which is
with the slippery ramp
Right.
and the heated
Ice-
mats and
and
the
the ice
coils on
falling.
the roof.
From the roof.
And
Pretty
landscape,
trees.
and some
And some
landscape.
pretty trees and a landscaping
pocket park.
area, pocket
Wait,
park.
and a park park?
Yeah,
Pocket
the
park.
team pocket park.
that's what the pedestrian walkway improvements are.
Okay, I thought that was so the ramp is F-21.
No,
No.
No.
no,
'Cause I
the-
think you
the
just-
flat
Ramp is at
entrance and the
19.
new door is
But-
20.
And that's the pocket park.
No,
No.
no, pocket park is F-19.
It's always been the pedestrian improvement project. based
So, but the
on-
pocket park is the ramp too.
It's
Yeah.
their
Right.
Includes.
Yes,
current ramp.
And then,
heating the current ramp
okay, yeah, I thought
and
that
putting the
was,
park in, the pocket park or whatever.
because I thought the
landscape-
ADA access was the pocket park.
No,
No,
no, no.
I mean, that's the
that's a new
doorway
door.
in the pocket park.
it's
isn't it?
just the
New
doorway.
That's just the doorway.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's on the
and
other
she
side,
said that
right?
was,
That's by the parking lot.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking at the three, and F-19 says enhancements to the front and side of the library to provide improved ADA access,
Well,
pedestrian walkway, and visitor access.
And that's for 19.
that's for
That
19.
was for 19.
So F-19 is for improved ADA access.
But it's also,
The ADA line item is 21.
Well, they're both ADA
Yeah.
accesses.
21
That's
is-
the confusing part.
they both include ADA. access.
21 is the creation and
They should take it
installation
out.
of a new ADA compliant in the vestibule. The way this was described to me was, one, we still need to get it ADA compliant, but that's the repair of the existing entranceway. And 21 is the creation of a new one. So there's a second entrance from like the parking area or the lilac trees on the side.
Should we
And
reach
so-
for a tour? No. Okay, sure.
they want to bust a hole.
Pedestrian improvements has
Or a door.
always been the
Yeah.
pocket park. It was based on a conceptual design that Elizabeth Dudley had put together. And it's confusing because the pictures are the same. We used to have the rendering of the pocket park, but and that's what they hired a landscape architect to do some cost estimating for.
That's not right, because this says F-19 is enhancements to the front and side of the library to provide improved ADA access, pedestrian walkway, and visitor access. And then F-21 says creation and installation of a new ADA compliant access along with vestibule and controlled access. I assume vestibule, isn't that the park?
No,
That's the
that should be all
entranceway.
inside the
Just,
building.
she said, we asked her about the cost, and she said it was just for the door. That's what I
Okay.
remember her saying.
I mean, I feel like
That
one
we-
of these needs to be a high priority and one of them
Right,
doesn't need to be.
And they are, one's a D and one's an A.
Okay.
Well, it is, but I think it tends to me,
Yeah.
it tends, it's reversed here.
She's new,
Yeah,
and she wasn't here
And,
for
and it wasn't her ideas either.
right. So she, and I know from being involved with this for 15 years that the pedestrian project for the library is based on Elizabeth Dudley's architectural sketch that she did showing trees, sidewalk, landscaping, and there was an ADA
And
component
that's
to
the
that.
front
And that's the
ramp
front
slash
ramp.
walkway.
Yeah.
Into the library. And to get rid of the parking space out front, because it really isn't a safe situation. to have
Oh, okay,
parallel
that's what
parking
that was all
spaces.
about. Okay.
So that's getting the existing thing improved.
Improved.
Right.
Okay.
And is it?
Which I would say is necessary versus desirable would be a second access point if I had to choose.
So you're gonna reverse
Which
that.
is reversed of that.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Okay.
I'd like to make the one they have safe.
Right.
Thank you for the
Tommy, you had a
as
question?
noted
Yeah,
by
yeah,
Susan.
So the 21 is about the increased, is about adding a second,
Door.
Yeah.
a second door.
Door.
And, I think, and I was not here for this, so I'm really gonna be leaning on people here. The rationale for this one being necessary, that second one, is there anything sort of associated with meeting, being ADA compliant about that second door that would make it, that would go further to making it ADA compliant than the improvements to that first door? Like, you can.
My
you can
understanding is
park there more
it's just that it's
conveniently
closer to the parking area.
That would be closer to
But
the parking area, that would be handicap accessible.
Yeah.
or
21.
ADA
It would be
accessible.
straight
Eh,
and flat and not have a ramp that ices up in the winter.
Right, so
But I don't
that
think it
there's,
needs any different ADA
No.
compliance.
Mm-mm.
so that you're creating an access point that's ADA compliant.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
people with disabilities, that they can actually use, that
Yeah.
actually sort of, actually lets them
And
have
it's
access
more
to the
convenient
building
because it's
in
closer
a
to
way
the
that
parking.
the front door actually kinda really doesn't.
Doesn't.
But I think when they initially put on at 19, 21 wasn't an issue. So I don't remember that coming up last year.
No,
or
I don't
before.
remember.
21 is the
This is a
second
new project.
entranceway and
Sorry,
19.
so 21's the old one, 19 is the new one, is that?
No.
It's the other way around.
Sorry.
19 is the Elizabeth
Right.
Dudley project. 21 is the new one, which involves a door in addition to that other project.
Does anyone know where the door actually would go? That's what
No,
I-
you didn't
I don't
exactly
envision
get
that.
that
Like,
information.
It was, she was kind of
It,
vague.
it seemed to me that there's two corners. There's lilac trees in a pathway, okay, on the right side of the library if you were
Yeah,
standing
you can
looking
see
at the
in
entrance.
the picture, you can kind of
Right.
see that corner.
Okay. And either putting a door there or putting a door behind the library where the entrance to the parking lot is.
There's already a door there.
There's already a door there, and it
is there?
ADA
There is,
accessible.
but they don't use it for some reason. It's only employees, I think.
I think because it kind of goes right into the
And
stacks,
this
as
is
it
about
were.
making that
Yeah.
one ADA compliant.
Not the back door, the side door.
This is a new
It's
side.
new
There's a
door
new
somewhere.
door, brand new.
So it's
And
a
we've
new
never
door that just
discussed it
happens to be
before. This is the
ADA
first time
compliant.
we've discussed it.
The reason they don't use the back door is they cannot be seen from the desk. They
Yeah.
can't-
Yeah.
Can't afford to have somebody out there.
Right, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah,
So without spending a lot more time, are we generally talking about that fixing the existing one and making it safer is higher priority than adding a new one?
Yes.
Yes.
I would disagree,
Okay.
because adding that side door, that entrance, is gonna do more I think it's gonna do more to facilitate access to the facility for people with disabilities than fixing the front door. I could be, sort of remembering sort of structurally, but talking about is getting rid of that parking space. Like, the ways in which people with disabilities actually have access to the facility are pretty limited right now. You said that that one ices up. If you're parked in that parking lot, which is one of, which, there's really very limited parking for people with disabilities to be able to get into the library. If you're not, if you have to park in that parking lot, I would leave it the way it is, because I do think that providing access to everybody is a priority. You know, a little soapbox from being in education.
I think one of the issues was that they had the idea to add the second door, and then they had the issues with the ramp, and the ramp is sort of like, we need to fix that immediately, because we're probably not gonna have enough money for the second door, but then it turns out they're both fairly expensive, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so, cause I mean, if you have the other ADA access on the side at the ground level, you don't need the ramp at all, if I'm
Right.
correct.
Right.
So I guess that's the issue, is like, they need to do the ramp immediately, because otherwise people won't be able to use.
We ought to encourage them to put the door in, do the thing right, and not spend money on patching up a ramp.
Okay, if I'm understanding, okay. this is-
Just leave it, I would leave the rankings.
If you leave it the way it is, we're saying that 21, the new door,
Is
and
correct.
that's what the library was saying, is more important to me than fixing the
Yeah.
old way in.
Yes.
Okay,
I think the issue is if that's not fully funded, they'll have to do the ramp first. Do you get what I'm saying? What's,
And I believe they have money.
Yeah,
like, they're gonna have to do the
Offers
ramp
something.
first, probably, because otherwise they have no ADA access, whereas the other project's gonna be much more elaborate and cost
Won't be
more.
done in time probably for winter.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's really up to, yeah.
well,
Although
and
they can get to buy it, so.
one of the issues, and I think I brought it up back then, but this will only hone it slightly more, I don't know, nor are they required to tell us how much is in the library trust fund. It's not a huge amount of money, but they have a secondary source of funds that's not the town. This is only asking for a town contribution, or I think they mentioned here that
Friends
they use
program.
some of the trust funds, the Friends trust funds, before to finish off the roof of the painting or something.
They could choose to just do the ramp and not do the trees and the other stuff.
That's what I'm
If
saying.
they
Well, I
need to do
suspect
it
they
right
have more
away,
money.
and that's probably not.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's not
saying.
all, yeah, it's not all ADA,
to-
the improvements.
So that could probably come out of library funds.
Yeah, it's just obviously we don't need two $100,000 doors at the same library, I guess is all I'm
So
saying.
we
In my
wanna
opinion.
revise the motion to zero out the
It's 10,
19.
Yeah. Not 100.
well, the number she had
It's
given
not
us.
100, it's $10,000.
Yeah, no,
It's
um,
100,000 is the overall
Okay.
project, and 72,000 is the
Right, I
overall
get you.
project.
yeah, so it was
And they have
172.
108,000 in there.
So they have, yeah.
So it's on this one, you might not have that. That's,
Is that the roof
They do have
improvements?
money to do it.
Not both, but yeah.
I think she said it was like 10,000 alone just for the door that automatically opened or something.
She said it was very expensive.
She said it was very expensive.
Who's gonna numb the hole?
I thought we were in general agreement, and now I'm not sure
Now
again,
I'm not
so.
sure where we are.
Is if F-21 is the new door, we all seem to agree on that, and F-19 is improving the old way in.
And-
Yep.
and
And
That's right.
the comments I've heard were it's probably more important to get the new door, and it would be better utilized and access from the park, or the side, than it would be improving the whole front infrastructure,
Okay,
that exists. Is that the sense I'm getting
Yep.
with everybody?
I think so.
In which case, it sounds like we leave the DNN as
Well-
it's stated.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the funding amount.
That, I don't want to put words in their mouths.
I know, but I'm thinking.
Diane can make another
request.
request to ask them for numbers, but I don't know if we
Well,
can.
no, I'm
Oh.
wondering if we should zero it out to indicate that I think it's more important that they do the other one.
Okay. Well,
And that could be the rationale
Okay,
for it.
on the floor is Gary saying he wants a D with 9,900.
Correct,
It was seconded by Russ.
correct.
It's now being amended by Gary.
Not yet, we're
Not yet.
discussing still.
Oh, we're discussing.
I'm seeing someone would entertain that amendment.
Yeah, no, it's-
I'm trying to feel out the room.
Okay.
So yeah, because the number that they give us was 72,000. Where is that reflected in?
Like, that's
F
That was
nineteen.
a previous, cost estimate that they had. 3-4 years ago. That's where that came from.
Okay,
And so they're only asking us for, was that the 9,900?
is 9,900.
And then there isn't any request for for,
No,
Correct.
not at this point.
they're
Okay,
asking for relatively small
right,
contributions from
okay.
the town.
And so, yeah, they have the
And they
balance as
probably will
108.
get, if it's
Is that-
anything like last
Right,
year,
right.
$10,000 is what I think.
Okay,
They've been level funded for 10,000 for a while.
Yeah, so you have some.
Well, I'm not sure we have a consensus yet.
so I'm gonna say that we should change the first one to N, because if they only want 9,900 to fix the front door now, I mean, it seems to make sense to do that and put the ADA access that's gonna cost, you know,
Well, I presume,
100,000 off.
but I presume that it would cost more than 9,900. I think it's
It's
probably just the additional monies they need to make to do this whole project.
It says the library,
That's been, it's big.
I mean,
They
it's
said
also
they
new,
had
the
some
library
money
just
available,
started.
But I'm not sure they have all of it.
That's true.
So I'm just wondering if she's gonna say, hey, why are we putting a door here? You know, like, maybe that was the other librarian's idea. I'm just suggesting that maybe like, you know, the immediate need is the ramp, you know.
But as Katana pointed out, even if the ramp is fixed in the winter, you're still probably assaulting the ramp, and you have the icy walkway all the way around the building, which isn't, which is probably not the best.
It's just the other projects is like a minimum 1,000, it looks like. Whereas this project is is a lot less.
But they already have presumably $60,000, right, in it? If they only need 10,000 more to make it happen, or
Yeah, I
9,900.
don't know if they fully understand how this
Well,
works. and
Oh,
what's with
okay.
the-
This
Okay.
108,000
Yeah.
is the town's
It's brand
capital
new, yeah,
reserve.
Of course.
Yeah.
Isn't that true, Diane? The 108,000 that's listed there,
That's
113
the
is what
balance
they're,
that we have in
the
our
capital-
town
capital
capital
reserve,
reserve fund for the library.
not the trust fund.
Not the trust fund.
Okay.
She did say that
We don't know what the trust fund
there
is.
will be some cost sharing, but she didn't
Yeah.
indicate.
Well, so the
how
librarian
long.
just started, like, she said, you know, a week, she'd been to one meeting, so
Yeah.
she was pretty,
It's brand new.
she did not, yeah, was obviously,
Okay. Anybody want to take a stab at where we're ending up here? And I don't know if there's a consensus. We were, the second door was more important as an additional access than we did in repairing.
Well,
that was
that's
a-
my perspective, I don't think that's, I don't think that's necessarily certified.
Right, I'm saying, that's what I know you brought up. I'm not saying we have to agree or disagree, I'm just saying, where are we on? I thought the motion was to leave it. Well, last thing I heard, take 19
The
in
motion
as
is
well.
only on F19 right now, we have not joined these three together,
Right. So let's take 19 as standalone.
unless you'd like to vote this down and then do them as a lump. I don't mean lump, but I mean together. Trying to keep track.
Is there someone who would, I recognize we have a motion, is it seconded, the
You
original
did it,
motion?
yeah.
Okay, and that motion is, Susan?
You, oh, the motion
No.
is for the D
Right?
with $9,900 for F19,
Okay.
the pocket park.
And that's been seconded.
Yes.
And
you
we've
seconded it.
discussed it. Does anybody want to have any more discussion or just vote on the D and then,
yeah, that's fine with me.
okay?
Okay.
All those in favor of the D for 9,900 say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion carries. Leave it as is.
Make a motion, we approve F20 Newmarket Library roof improvements necessary for $10,000.
second.
Any discussion?
I didn't want to bring this up from, I think slate roofs are supposed to last a lot longer than 10-year cycles or whatever this is. I think it's just a small repair, I'm hoping. That's what they seemed to indicate last year, if I recall, that there was a,
Okay. So, as a result of that, what would you like to do?
just speaking out loud.
Okay.
There's no proposed changes or anything, it's just,
Okay. But is there a follow-up, seriously, because I'd at least like to have a track record. If the question is, how extensive is the remaining roof repair?
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to know if, if this is just for ongoing maintenance that occurs, or is there a plan to replace?
I think you're doing it on an incremental basis.
$116,300.
Can't be a whole slate roof.
No, they're doing it on an incremental basis.
Yeah.
And they're just putting money away, 10,000 for future,
Okay.
okay?
So, we have a motion yet, Susan, or not?
Yes,
Yes.
Gary, and Roger seconded, and we have discussed.
To keep N and the numbers they have there with a question.
$10,000.
Okay. All those in favor of N,
Aye.
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 motion carries.
I'm not gonna make the next motion.
Okay, we'll let Jonathan, since he has some
For F21.
definite, or
Okay, yeah.
I'll move to accept in F 21 as written and 10,000.
Second.
$10,020, 200.
Any additional discussion?
Now is this the?
Did you second it?
I thought I heard a second. Did
just
I?
the
I
door.
did.
Okay.
This is the door, the other
This
one's
is
the
just the
trees.
door.
Yeah.
All those in favor of N for 10,200 on F21?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Make a motion, we approve FR1 fire and rescue vehicles as necessary at $48,000.
Do you want to lump them together?
I would like to amend my motion to include protective equipment
So
as necessary at a amount of $20,000. Sorry, go ahead.
Motion is now for both items.
Correct, unless you prefer them to be separated.
I just wanted to address the first one, so.
The first one was one of the leasing issues.
Can I have a second first?
I can withdraw my motion.
Would you like to?
I just did, please. All right.
I move that FR1 vehicles be urgent and the number stated, because that's lease payments.
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we want to?
Just curious, is that not compulsory? I mean, I know it's
That's
not
a good
compulsory,
question.
but is it not compulsory? Or should it not be maybe U/C?
If compulsory means that there's a law,
Required by law.
I mean, are we legally required to have a fire department? Probably not.
no.
But they,
Well, the protective equipment is a legal requirement. I don't know about the vehicles, but it's pretty obvious. It's a dirty thing.
You're not legally required to pay your lease, right, I guess.
But it,
yes, that's true.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I just was bringing it up for discussion.
No, but should we just add the same note that the chair had recommended last time for the change?
Oh, the leasing question?
Yeah. Well, you'd,
Right,
on the first one, Public Works, you'd ask that we
right.
asterisk that and indicate
Mention.
why we changed it.
And and the motion is to change the N to U and to leave the numbers as is,
Correct.
Correct.
but to identify it as a question of leasing. That question come up on the leasing. All those any further discussion on FR1? All those in favor of FR1 being changed to U with the numbers as stated?
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Make a motion, we approve FR2 protective equipment as necessary for $20,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Make a motion, we approve P1 Newmarket Master Plan update 2025, the ranking of compulsory for $10,000.
Well, second.
Is there a need for us to consider any urgency in addition to the C?
No.
Okay.
In a year or
Diane,
two.
can you tell me about the compulsory of this?
Under New Hampshire state law, you can adopt a zoning ordinance, but it needs to be based on a master plan. You can have impact fees, but it has to be based on a master plan and a capital improvements program. So there are some legal requirements that come into play.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but our master plan was fully updated last in 2001.
Right, and
As a yeah.
we've been updating chapter by chapter since, just for
Yeah.
financial reasons.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion on C for $10,000 additional funding?
Diane, just out of curiosity, is that something, you know, if, once this is done, you would project or recommend it would be done every, like, we're gonna put money aside every 10 years or 25, is that a good time? I mean, I'm just curious.
Well, the state law says you're supposed to update, or it recommends updating every 5 to 10 years. But we're just a small town, and we just don't have the resources to be
Right, so
able
it
to
just
do that.
recommends 5 to 10?
It says
doesn't
recommended, and I think it's also written that way in our town charter.
Okay.
And so we're putting aside the 10,000 a year to be
And-
able to do the necessary updates.
Yes, and we started it 7 years ago, so we have about $70,000 available and change.
Right, and that was to get it all coordinated and updated at some future date, in like 2-3 years.
Right.
type of thing.
Yep.
So if I'm understanding, we've updated sections, but we haven't integrated all the new sections together. And that's what we're putting money away for, because that is a fairly large and extensive
That's correct.
rewrite. Okay. All those in favor of master plan as stated? Aye. Motion passes.
I move we approve PD one as N at 25,466.
And that's incorrect.
Yeah.
It's the vehicles is the 53,471, and the communications is the 25,466.
PD2 is only a funding of 1 year.
I think
On the
the-
form.
I
I
said
think the rest of the
PD1.
lines need to be
Right,
struck out.
PD1 is the one that
lines
should
just need to
have
go up.
all the other 25,666s up north.
It was a formatting problem,
I-
Roger.
I
They should all move up.
These ones right here.
PD1 at
Should
25.
just be up one.
That's not correct. It's
So this will be the
PD1
only year that
yes,
we're
you're right,
funding the
but
because
that's
of
correct.
leasing.
Right.
25,466.
That's the remaining
That's
amount
correct.
in
As
the
an N.
CIP
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
for vehicles,
Second.
but
Thank
after
you.
this will be leasing.
All those in favor, and just to make sure my brain is still straight, we're gonna move the remaining numbers on PD2 from 23, 24 on up to
Correct.
PD1.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
I think we're all.
So we now have PD1N at 2056. It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? All right.
move we recommend PD2 as an N at 53,471.
Second.
Is there a reason we wouldn't do a U, Roger, since it's a lease?
Pardon?
No, this is not this is a withdrawal of funds, I think.
Purchase.
Yeah,
Oh,
they-
this is
they
the last
did
part. You're right.
indicate that
You're right.
it would be
There's
less.
They're just buying the vehicles,
No, you're right.
one a year, I
Apologies.
think.
Yep.
Okay, I think we did vote on that, or didn't?
No,
We
we haven't
lost it,
discussed
okay. That is a difference, though. They're not leasing it, and they're not putting away funds for it. They just plan on moving it to operating expenses and buying a vehicle a year, basically.
But they might change that in the future
Okay.
too. So I think holding
All
it-
those in favor of N and 53471?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, the bridge.
On
Heron,
one,
Heron Point.
Diane,
Yes.
is there an omission on 2425?
Yes, there is, and that should be $10,000. Thank you for
Okay.
picking that up, yes.
okay. And this, similar to the master plan, is putting away seed money now so that engineering, et cetera, can come in and design and develop a master, a
Conceptual plan,
conceptual.
preliminary engineering, and cost estimate.
I move
So sexy.
we recommend 01 G 10,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No. You heard it.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve R1 large permanent shade and rain shelter.
Is that
As-
0 for this year? Is that what she asked for?
Yes.
I'm gonna say it's desirable, for $0. I guess that was pointless. Be the motion.
Is that right?
Seems to me she was so
Yeah.
in that project, yeah, that's the rain
That
shelter.
should be 18,000.
That should be 18,000.
Should be, that's right.
Yes, that's
It should be
right.
18,000.
Yeah,
It was no mission. Okay.
oh, sorry.
And it was N.
I would kind of,
I'm gonna propose desirable as for 18.
Okay. D?
well,
D. Well,
I'm not trying to outthink Amy by any stretch, but it seems to me that she has talked about the value of covering the basketball courts or whatever, that section that has pickleball possibilities and other things as well, versus I take the next one as 2, as duplicating in Leo LaRoche, the splash pad and restrooms. Isn't this an additional?
The splash pad stuff, I think that was for future, replacing the
Just-
pumps and
Oh.
she
stuff.
said that she wanted to
Maintenance.
have an equipment.
Yeah, maintenance and just making
Yeah.
sure that
Yeah.
we got money in case it breaks.
In the future,
Okay.
yeah.
Chemical kits and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
the rain shelter was, I think the reason that she felt it was necessary is that, the stuff that's happening at the rec center and with, it COVID necessitating kids be outside, that, she felt there was, extending their kind of capacity to do that and to function in a, kind of also support the before and after school when they've gotta be outside to maintain social distancing and safety.
It's interesting, because that's our recommendation from last year, but
Yeah.
I'm inclined to go towards desirable. For whatever reason.
well, I'm sort of looking at, just as a discussion on this one, I'm looking at R3, which is recreation equipment, which has no funding, so,
Because they do that out of their enterprise.
They got they also got federal grants under the
Right.
COVID money to be
Okay.
able to purchase one of the
She didn't-
pedestrian vans.
She didn't ask for it.
so your point there is that, I'm assuming the R2 and the R3, you're not at issue with the rating, but you think that R1 is less important?
Well, we haven't gotten to R2.
Okay.
I guess I'd probably call R2 as desirable as well.
I mean, it would just be a shame if we had a broken splash pad, that's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. How much is, how much is 5,000 for rearranging the splash pad design every couple of years, so it's
I think it was
engaging,
specifically,
and how much of it's for.
I think it was specifically for pieces of the pump that had a shelf
Yeah.
life of 10 years or whatever it was.
Oh, okay, then yes.
I think it was a specific
The-
piece of equipment that,
Right,
Oh,
the
okay.
concept is similar to a wastewater treatment plant, where he
Yeah.
has an equipment list and he knows what the life cycle is, and he's saving to be able to finance those things reasonably in the future.
Yeah. This is putting money away for the future.
Save it for a rainy day.
I mean, I would tend to agree with you that the shade is desirable as opposed to necessary, because I mean, it's not like they can't use the basketball court without it.
Or haven't been.
And I mean, if it's
Hopefully COVID
desirable,
will
she's
next
probably more
year.
likely to find a grant to fund it.
Okay, we've kind of discussed a couple of these things.
What's the motion on the table?
The motion on the table, I believe, is for R1 to be classified as D,
At
$18,000.
Correct.
Is there a second?
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion on desirable rating? Seeing none, all those in favor of changing the rating to desirable at 18,000, say aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we approve R2 splash pad restaurant at Leo Landroche as necessary for $5,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
I'm not sure what we do with R3.
I'm gonna assume recreation equipment is
Just accept it as-
disposable and it's not costing us anything, so I'm not gonna challenge your rating of N. So I'll make a motion, for R3 N $0.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The summary is wrong too, for the,
Yeah.
the subtotal for the rec, because we have the 18K in, so.
That's right,
Yeah.
it's 20,
Great.
I say 23,000. I wrote it down.
Make a motion, we approve W1 new 750,000 gallon water tower as necessary.
I'm gonna,
I'm gonna say urgent, actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I'm gonna sort of agree on,
Urgent for $100,000.
I was hoping maybe we can do this as a group based on.
I know, we've done that in the past.
These are enterprise funds. And yeah, I think we could approve them all as stated.
I tend to think that as well, both water and sewer, except that I'm tending, if I understood what Sean was saying, and all this stuff is important and it's paid for separately and it's not part of the tax rate, that the 750,000 gallon water tower is the one that buys us freedom from being in a stage 3 or stage 4 emergency on a regular basis. It gets
No.
us up to, what, 3-4 days supply or something, so it gets us off the hook.
I think that's actually the additional wells and
Wells.
mixing
Oh,
station.
okay,
The
Yeah.
water tower doesn't,
Plus
it just
the
gets
water
replenished, so,
tower,
yeah.
too,
okay.
yeah. Water
But, no,
tower would
that's it.
also be, yes.
Well, I think that's the issue, is if that one water tower had catastrophic failure, then we'd be
Gotcha.
without.
So we're looking to keep the numbers the same, and the motion is to change the N to U on W1.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
Any further discussion?
Second, who seconded?
I think I seconded it.
Okay, John.
Okay, Jonathan, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Can we take as a group the water vehicles and all the sewer warrants?
I so move.
I guess the only, just the clarifying coverage should be urgent, in my opinion, because we're spending, what, $36,000 a year, or something like that? What was
Yeah.
The cost of,
38,000.
yeah, and
It's not a big ticket item.
it's not a big ticket item in the amount of labor it's gonna save.
Not to mention the fact that it's probably a terrible job.
Well,
I think
the
that-
Whoever
cover
scuba
will
diver.
reduce the smell, so.
Yeah.
yes. Okay, and that's fine, we're entertaining a change only from N to U, based on the committee's,
On S8,
On S8.
on S8.
S8.
and the others as stated.
And Jonathan, you seconded
I'll,
that?
yeah,
So
Okay.
wait, Roger, can you withdraw your restate?
I'll withdraw my,
Okay.
okay, and I will
Motion.
say, I move we approve W2 and S1 through S7 as stated. and SA changing to a U.
That does the complete job for me. I'll second that. Well done. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And have we gone the 2 through 7? Because I know in the book it was 1 through 6.
Oh, I thought I changed that.
Yeah,
There were,
Sorry about
on
that.
the old sheet, there were 7 projects. We never saw the vehicle one that was withdrawn.
And that was withdrawn, so that's why the
And-
numbers are,
But the numbers on the sheets are 1 through 6.
1 through 6.
Yeah.
I move we approve SC 1 through SC 6 as shown on the sheet.
Second.
Discussion? And quickly looking at the ratings, and not that you should believe that I have any more information, but being on the building committee and on the facilities committee for the last 6 years, I think she's got her priorities right here. Getting the electrical and the classroom renovations, if we had to put a priority, and parking, I think are higher.
Now, she's withdrawn the request for courtyard landscape, correct?
no. No,
Well, it's zero.
it was
shows
zero.
a 0.
Okay.
I think the reason for that is the priority may not have changed, but they have excess. There
She
is
says
interest left over.
Something about getting money from some
But
source.
she's probably gonna do it through a warrant article.
Yeah, it could be,
Yeah. But I'm sure that that's correct.
I have
She just said there
$160,000.
was
Yeah.
a lack
That's a
of parking,
mistake.
and there was a way they could expand it in the new parking lot across the
You
street.
sent revised school once around, right?
Yeah, but the dollar amount that she had in the original was
I
160.
know,
Yeah.
I don't know, I think there
What did
was,
she?
I know there was a bunch of issues with the water and stuff, I don't know. if
yeah.
the
No,
drainage
she didn't put
ended up
anything
limiting
for
it.
revised for that particular one, Roger.
Was that a typo on the form?
There was a
or-
typo on the form. Should be $160,000.
The landscaping. That's, I'm sorry.
No, the courtyard landscaping should be $160,000.
Yeah, school,
It's a typo.
the 989 in 24-25 is correct. The elementary school numbers of 50 grand are fine. The junior, senior high courtyard landscaping was 160 right in the first year and nothing thereafter. So,
And then there's, so the zero line items for turf and the playground are correct.
Yeah, that
the,
was based on last year's.
the
Same thing that we had
SC4
last year.
now is the 175. That's on the form with nothing after it. And SC5, which on your sheet is SC6, but we're renumbering from 1 through 6. The Newmarket Elementary School playground, I have 50,000 and 152,000 as the numbers
What are
on
you talking about?
Zero
Which
and
one?
two.
this one.
The playground?
It's called
Stuff from this
SC5.
I have 50,000 and 152.
Right, and that's not here. We have
Okay.
202, 215.
So it's should be 50,000 for the playground.
50 in the first year, and the second number should be
Oh,
152.
152, and that's
I
where the
would- I
202
withdraw
came
my-
from.
Motion. Let-
Yeah.
To
yeah,
correct
let's
those.
Get this all,
Okay.
Yep.
yeah.
Wasn't there also funding from
Yes.
they
Yeah.
received from PTA? or-
She has
She
$44,000.
has, she sent these revised forms, Gary, did
Oh,
you
I'm
see
sorry.
those?
No, I pressed on
She puts under
Okay.
other $44,000 from the PTA. They have a current capital reserve of $100,000. She was pretty fairly confident that they could find the money to finish playground.
Yeah, we don't have any balance information.
That one, it sounds like, is,
155 is, okay.
Right.
Last year, the figures were together. I should just split them up.
No, again, this is not asking the town for money. This is talking about the school being funded either via a warrant article.
We're talking about the elementary school for the playground, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
The revised sheet she sent us asks for 50,000 in 22-23,
Correct.
And then 100
and then 152,215.
right, and what we have here is the sum of those two numbers in the second year with a zero. So it should be 50 in the first year for the playground,
Mhm.
and then 152,215 is the second year, and then zero after that.
But that doesn't add up,
I know, because we have to update the spreadsheet.
okay? Well,
There's a couple of figures here that are
her
incorrect.
spreadsheet
Hmm?
for that project says raised in 2050, 2150, that's 100 starting balance.
Mhm.
This is for
So
the playground,
if-
Roger?
Huh?
This is for the
This is
playground?
for the
This is for the playground. And in 22-23, she's asking for 50. That cuts you to 150. The total project is 202, so it should be 52,000 in the
No.
second year.
50 and 152.
No,
No.
50,
No,
He's saying-
they should add up to the
listen to what
total.
I'm saying.
Okay.
There's 100 starting balance.
Right,
He's saying the
There's
project
100,000's
cost,
been raised in previous years.
he's saying the project cost is 200,000, therefore
Okay.
50
We
plus
only
50
have-
plus 50
102
only
left,
leaves 52.
50 and then 52.
Okay, and where is the existing balance at 100? That's
During
what
our-
I'm
during
not,
our meeting,
We wrote it in the
Yeah.
meeting.
okay, I got you.
so the cost of the project is greater than 202,215.
No,
Then where does the
Well,
forty-four?
or-
the pro-
Or her figures
Her
of
the
figures.
project
right.
is still 202,215.
I think
That's the number it's been.
Roger's saying the total cost is 202,000. They already have 100,000 in the kitty. Therefore, only need an additional 152,000.
No,
No,
102.
102,000, excuse me.
And
So
they're asking
that-
for 50 this year, so the remainder would be 52.
would be 52, correct.
Would be next year.
Correct.
Right, if
So
it's-
let's change that to 52.
Right, so we're saying there's a balance of 100, they need 50, and then 52,215 in the second year.
Yep.
And
Correct.
that equals the project cost.
And that's without the help of the $44,000.
That's a good
from
point.
PTA.
That's a very good point, thank you. Because they already have 40, how much?
She said 44,000.
44,000 given to the school from the PTA for the project.
Yeah, I still think the school board is trying to figure out where it's going to come out with warrant articles and interest and all those things. So I don't, are you saying further amend the 150 and 52 because of what we heard the PTA may have raised already? Because I know they hadn't given it.
No, they had given it.
Oh, have they?
That's what she said, I was surprised.
Well, is that part of which has been raised? And she just didn't break it out?
in the general project description, it says warrant article in FY 20 and FY 21, 100,000 earmarked for this purpose. In addition, Newmarket PTA has been conducting fundraising activities to support this initiative.
If
So I
you
would
look-
assume,
And she said that was 44,000.
And I made the point of, well, if they haven't given it to us, we can't really earmark it as being towards the project,
But
and
she
she said
said,
they had
oh,
given it
no.
to us, so I was
Yeah.
surprised, yeah. So, we should include
So we should take out,
47
subtract,
out of 52.
Well, this is not a typo
that was 44.
that we're
I'm sorry,
correcting, this is correcting her sheet,
That's okay, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's-
okay? And so,
So what is, Roger's got his calculator
That's a
going here. so-
3-year-old estimate, so there's that.
Well, that's the other thing, is
Well,
what
let's
you
not
got
get into
for-
that part.
See, this is raised,
Yeah,
50,
right.
50, and that's 202, so this is 52.
Right, but what about the 44?
44 what?
The
They've
PTA is
already,
getting
they've
44.
raised, in addition to the 100,000
Oh.
they have, they've raised 44,000 through their friends group or
So that leaves
whatever.
6,000.
Oh, they have, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where that shows
So are
up.
we trying to amend what they have asked for, or are we making, or is someone proposing an amendment to the amount that we're?
I think
No,
we're just
I think-
clarifying the future years.
Future years, we're still saying it's $50,000, but in the next year, it's not gonna be 152, it's gonna be 50.
Minus
And then it's
40
minus the 44,
Minus whatever they
would be 6,
have,
right?
other rates.
so it would be 6.
I'm sorry, 8. Right? 44, 8.
Yes.
Wait a minute. I'm getting your shoes off.
yes. It would be 215.
Let's see, math, what was that now?
I remember
You
hearing
had
about
two
it.
figures
But
together.
if we're gonna do that, then we should end up showing either, I don't know if you wanna show it in
We
other,
show it under other as
It's
private
44,000.
fundraising.
Perfect.
Just out of curiosity, who approves the school CIP, or who, is that going to the school board? I mean, the rest is going to the town manager.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
The way the school works differently than the town is that the town will have the CIP, okay? And that's part of, it's in the operating budget of how much they're
So
going
it's only
to move
$8,000.
into the CIP
Right.
this year from our recommendation.
Just so that
And then any
numbers-
withdrawals have to be done individually and approved
Right.
by the town council.
Yeah.
The school
Well,
board
That's why we'd like it before, rather than.
has warrant articles, okay? That's the only way they can raise capital funds. The way the school runs is, if, there's two things they can do. They have an operating budget that's approved. If, at the end of each year, they'll end up saying they have a general fund, which they never had before, which is a small percentage that they're allowed to keep as emergency funds. I think it's about 2.3% or.
2.5%
2.5.
since 2014.
But if they underspend in the year, they can have a warrant article that says, if we underspend, take 50,000 of the underspending and give it to the capital, reserve fund for technology. And then part two is, in addition to the operating budget, so that warrant article was contingent on them underspending the budget.
Yeah, okay.
Then there's another warrant article that would say we want to raise funds for a particular purpose, or we need voter approval to use the interest or the excess left over from the $39 million bond article. Either we give it back to you folks, or we're saying we have this money over here and we want to have you approve a warrant article where we can use those funds to build a ball field or do whatever. So,
Okay.
but they, they fund any additions through a warrant article. Then I think the school board has the right to use the funds they've raised for the purpose without getting a vote on it, because they raise the
I
funds,
believe you're correct.
Yeah.
As long as it's used for the purpose of the fund, yeah.
but they're two separate entities.
Yeah,
Do we want to go back and change the other sheet as well? Because they said that for the classrooms, they've already raised $50,000, but yet they have $200,000 shown, $50,000 a year for the next 4 years. So that would also exceed the project cost. So that should-
I don't have a problem amending it for what we're saying. On the other hand, there's a,
So, the classroom renovation is a $200,000 project,
Right?
and they've raised 50, and they're asking for 50 for 3 years.
There's two classrooms.
That's
right?
200.
I hate to say it that way, but
So what's on the sheet is correct.
No, they have 50, project cost up in top is $200,000.
Right.
And they have it 4 years down below. They've already raised
No,
50, they only need,
You only have,
I only have it on my sheet.
you
for
only
the
have
next
3 years
three.
down here.
Yeah. me
Look
as
at
well.
your sheet. Look at your
maybe
sheet.
I'm looking at the.
Which sheet
You
is
have
this?
3,
No, this is the one, one of the new
No,
ones
look
they
at
sent
yours.
us. This
And
is
this-
the new one they sent me.
No, this sheet from today, from
look at this.
the shows.
Okay.
See what,
50, 50, 50.
Okay,
No, that's
well,
correct.
That's
That's
correct,
correct.
but this is not correct, the form. They don't need it for the final year.
Oh, yeah, that's
This-
correct.
this is the
That's
form
correct.
that's
Okay,
incorrect.
yeah, that's.
okay,
yeah,
we're talking about
okay,
SC2 at 50 a
That-
year
you are
is
correct.
that it's
That form is
overstated.
wrong. Okay,
Right. This is
you
right.
you have it right.
No, the D.
It's overstated in the CIP form, but not in the summary,
Okay,
I believe.
and that's on
Look at
SC2,
them all to
correct?
match up properly.
Okay, SC2 is the one we're talking about. Where the actual project form needs to be taken down, take the money out of the last year, but the summary page is correct at 3 contributions of 50. Okay. Do we need to go over these one by one, or are we in a position at the moment to?
After 3 hours of doing sorry.
Okay,
I think we need to go over.
one by one?
By one,
Okay.
quickly.
I make a motion we approve SC1 Newmarket School turf fields as desirable for $0.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion, excuse me, SC2 elementary school classroom renovations as necessary for $50,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Junior, senior high school courtyard landscaping as desirable with no funding
No.
required?
100
Oh, the
160,000.
160. Oh, yeah, I got it.
Desirable with 160.
Yep.
I move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Newmarket,
Motion-
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. No, I make a motion we approve SC4 Newmarket Junior Senior High School parking as necessary for $175,500.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion we approve SC5 Newmarket Elementary School playground. I only do this over the minutes a lot, you realize that.
It's okay.
As desirable for $50,000.
Second.
And with the corrections noted in
152, 250.
in the original form and the summary. Okay. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
I seconded.
Second.
Okay, seconded. Any discussion?
Second.
Is that the one we changed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's 50 in
Oh,
the
that's right,
first
'cause we
year.
put-
Yeah.
52, 215.
That's right, we
and
went down to
23.
8,000.
Right.
That's when you and I were doing the
8,215.
math.
Or
Correct,
8.
yes.
That's right.
Trying to.
52 minus 44 that's been raised by somebody else.
Right?
I
Yes,
don't know,
it
it depends
is.
what time of the year
Oh.
we're in. Yeah, apparently it is,
Yeah.
but it's part of the
We're
year.
just a little over.
And can
We're so close.
I don't know if I have to amend the motion, but since we're changing the school's form, I'd at least like to let them know.
Agreed.
Is that okay?
advisory.
I mean,
Well, I mean, you know,
Okay,
Sure,
you'll
you
let,
can call them up and let them know.
hey, we had the school guy amend the
Shane and I
form.
will go.
Okay,
school guy
he's
amend the
authorized, the school guy.
I make a motion we approve
Blake-
that. Oh, we
Blake,
haven't voted
Gary,
on that, I'm very
We
Say
haven't
that
sorry.
we
voted yet.
made a
I'm very sorry.
change.
Okay.
It was a scriber's error, right?
Sky was there.
We have a motion that's seconded.
Gary with a
Didn't do
D,
the math right.
50,000, Katana seconded.
All those, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Anyone wanna take the last one to bring us over the hump? Should I do it? I make a
Do
motion
it.
we approve
Yes.
SC6 elementary window replacement as urgent for $155,000.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. I think we got through it.
Good work.
Hey, good work.
Strangely enough, the library was the biggest discussion point, I think, other than the issue of leasing, which took up a while. We have no business other than we have an open question where we want human flesh rather than lack of response to memos. And a week and Diane will get us an answer to that. And guys, thank you. I mean.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Make a
everyone.
motion
This
to
was
adjourn.
great.
And Diane, thank you.
I think,
Thank you, everyone, for
yeah,
your
but
help
Aye.
and contributions.
we're in a changing environment.
Aye.
We're sort of at a tipping point, I think, at this point, and I really feel the questions on leasing are one I'd like to feel more comfortable with than everybody else here. So, and thank you for your contributions. This has not been an old committee that just kind of went by rote. It's got some people thinking about it, and I appreciate that.